Mrs. A. Ayala,
Present.
Mrs. S. Ayala, Mrs. Hines,
Here.
Mr. Coleman,
Here.
Mrs. Leba.
Present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, I don't have any slips, so there's no audience portion. Item D, approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda with the following changes to the consent agenda. The personnel approval for Stacy Selby and Kenna Martinez. And then also in the financial report, they've also been added, and Sarah will be presenting. Roll call.
A. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Coleman,
Aye.
Mrs. Leba.
Aye. Item E. I'm sorry, item A. I apologize. We approve the agenda. Item 2, consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. I'm sorry, y'all. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Questions or comments? Roll call.
Mrs. A. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Coleman,
Aye.
Mrs. Leba.
Aye. Number 3, financial report.
Okay, we have Sarah from Advocates here to present financials. Well, I know you got done 2 different sets of reports from Sarah. And she'll explain kind of some of the differences and why we had the original set compared to what the recent one that you all got, so.
Yeah. Thank you guys for this evening. Myself and my partner Kim have been working on the books for the last, hot and heavy for the last month. Helping the audit start for 23-24, which is currently sitting over at the auditor's office. And I can talk a little bit about that if you guys have questions. We are also getting ready so that we are, as soon as he's done with that audit, we can give him the books for 24-25 as well. So our goal being that he has those sometime in October. And the state deadline is December 31st. So we are backing into that to make sure that the district doesn't miss that deadline this year for that audit as well. So I just want to point that out to you guys. The reports that you guys got in your packet, you will see a balance sheet as well as an income statement. And first I'm going to explain a little bit about what a balance sheet does and what an income statement does. The balance sheet, and you guys, as you get to know me over time, you're going to know that I'm extremely passionate about balance sheets. The reason for that is I can see cash balances that are sitting in banks. I can see what the district owes out in money. And also any of our equities, which is considered our savings account. So it really is a good map of the health of the district. And so a lot of people sort of gloss over a balance sheet, but I'm here to get you passionate about balance sheet just as much as I am. The other reports that you guys are going to see is called an income statement. And what that does is it shows the revenues that came in, as well as the expenditures that went out for certain periods. So the practice that Abacus is involved in is number 1, you will see reports that come straight out of the accounting software. The reason for that is so that it gives you guys a firm understanding that the accounting software and the finance team is current and that the books are kept up to date. And I'm going to show you a couple tricks so that you guys know things to look at with these reports. The other reason for that is everybody has human error. And when you get reports that are made on Excel spreadsheets, sometimes numbers maybe don't sum correctly. Somebody forgot to put something in. Numbers might get omitted for one reason or another. So another reason why an abacus practice is that you guys will always get reports coming out of the software. That way it is not errors that are going to come out of fingertips creating some report to give to you guys as well. So I'll stop there and give you guys the opportunity to ask me any questions first, or I can keep going forward, either one.
Just one question, when you say that he, are you talking about Dimitri?
Dimitri, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if he's new to the district. For you guys, do you know?
Had him a couple of years now, I believe.
Okay, all right, so that's good. Because the audits will run faster if it's not our first year with the auditor, which is good. So yes, and we've turned everything over to him, I want to say 2 weeks ago now. So for the 23-24 audit, so we're still a year behind in getting that one done.
What's the timeline on that, to finish that?
This is the unfortunate thing, is because we have missed so many deadlines. We are now on his schedule. He's having to work us in through a very, very busy schedule he's already got. So he's been working on us on the nights and weekends. So unfortunately, as his schedule is booked, we missed our time frame that he had set for us months ago. And so right now he's working us in as he has time. So he knows that, we are currently, our property taxes are being withheld. It's kind of like the penalty that happens with the district. We will receive those property taxes, but they won't come until we are completely done with that 23-24 audit. So.
Can I just hop in for a second? As I met with Dimitri last week, something that as we were talking about these deadlines, making sure that we're hitting them and acknowledging that we're behind on them. Him and I started to put together kind of a game plan of what communication would best be served as it kind of was transitioning with so many rotating people through this last school year. We talked about what that should look like, what's going to be most successful. So as we step in with a new leader, we're getting those routine updates from him as well, so that we're current as possible. In that process of navigating through those audits.
So I usually get an email that needs a signature, or somebody will say, I need your signature real quick for an extension. Are we at that point then, since we've missed, or that was already like an extension on the extension that we had?
Yeah, so those extensions were up on February 28th.
Okay.
So yeah, unfortunately now we are outside of the extension timeframe. The other thing with the state of Colorado is that they won't give a district 2 consecutive years of extensions. So that's the reason why it's very important that we hit all the mile markers that we need to, and we get the audit completed and filed with CDE by December 31st at 11:59. So I will say we've had a couple of times where we've been doing it at 11:59, but we've gotten done, so.
Okay, and this is for the 2023-24, and this is not the same as the, what's it called, individual audit, right? Because we have
Single audit?
single, there we go.
Yeah.
I know it was on something.
Yeah. So a single audit gets triggered, and it's outside of what the normal district's fiscal audit does annually. A single audit has to come into play when there's been governmental grant funding received. It's $750,000 or more. So during the time frame that COVID was giving us CARES Act money, ESSER, you guys might have heard that word. ESSER is what pretty much triggered larger districts to have to get single audits done. And I believe, yes, in 23-24, we also have a single audit that has to run with it, that he has to audit as well.
Part of that piece, again, part of that piece in meeting with Dimitri, it's kind of prioritizing what do we have to have, and then go to the next piece. He said that as important as that single audit is, he needs to first we've got to get the 23-24 audit done, get the 24-25 audit done in time. And just have them start to prioritize what our must-haves are, our number ones, and then go from there.
Because there's no money tied up with a single audit, is there?
He does have to charge extra for it,
So
because
it's but for the district,
no,
so that,
Yeah.
yeah, that's.
Yeah. good question. If you guys don't have any other questions about the audit process, and again, you can ask at any point. I'm gonna walk you through, go for it.
Okay, so before our business manager left, we were supposed to be, I can't remember her last name. So Lisa and our business manager and Dimitri, they were working on making sure that we have internal controls and that there is an actual formal process for our bookkeeping, and then making sure that our journal entries are complete on time or in a timely manner. Do you know where we are on that?
Yeah, so 23-24 is complete. Journal entries have been made, so that we can provide over to Dimitri the numbers that he is auditing. As far as kind of what you're referring to is how do we set up practices and procedures in the finance office to make sure that the books are kept current. Those are some of the things we're going to talk about, especially with these types of reports that we're going to provide. With new leadership coming in too, we're looking forward to working side by side with that person so that we can help them learn about the district's books and also keep it on a very predictable pattern month over month, what kind of reports we review with leadership first before they're provided to you guys, so that, yes, you're fully aware too that books are current and they don't slip behind getting reconciled. Once books start to become not reconciled on a current basis, it's extremely difficult and time consuming to get them caught back up in and current. As you're also dealing with your normal monthly transactions that the finance office has to deal with anyway. Okay, so, and I think everything just gets emailed, not printed out in front of you guys, but just emailed to you. There are, so the pre-audit balance sheet you received, I believe, last Thursday, maybe is when that first one came out. And then you also had the pre-audit income statement that went with that. Over the course of the weekend, Kim and I were doing some more work to get the books ready for the 24-25 audit. And we started working through some more balance sheet liability areas, which we'll talk about, and found that there were misstated numbers in there. And so the documents that you guys received last Thursday showed that the district had a loss in the general fund. So that would be Fund 10. There was a loss showing at that point of $1.3 million. Over the course of the weekend, Kim and I, as we were working through the balance sheet, getting things cleaned up, found several different entries that were in liabilities that were in duplicative. So with that and us removing those, the reports that came out over the weekend, or if you got them today, those reports show that the general fund, Fund 10, shows a loss of $22,000. So that is a huge swing. Some of that again is us going back through and doing doing what we do to work through the balance sheet and cleaning up what were the liability areas. Now, liabilities for the most part sit with either accounts payable or payroll. There's a big liability that goes on the books each year for the district. It's the July and sometimes August accounting. It's called the payroll accrual. And what that does is it back books the expenses for that time frame and puts it back into last fiscal year. We found that there was an entry that was on the books from FY 22-23 that hadn't been relieved. That kind of goes a little bit into some conversations that we've had with Dimitri over last week too. Dimitri's concerned that the audited numbers from 22-23 are not fully accurate. And so that might take a little bit more work for him to have to go back into those. It might be some of those that Kim and I ran into over the weekend. Just want to kind of point that out. I could get super deep into the weeds if you guys want me to, but I'm gonna try to keep this on an understandable level here tonight unless you guys have any further questions. I felt it was important for you guys to be able to see version 1 that you guys got last week, and then version 2. And that's such an amazing switch, showing that the district is just showing a loss of 22,000. So, for right now, what I would like to do is if you could pull up the pre-audit balance sheet that you received over the weekend or today, the most recent one.
Do you want me to share my screen, Sarah? Are you good?
Good, thanks, Kim.
Okay.
Kim's listening in. Oh my gosh, now I'm nervous. So the top area, and what we're gonna see is that it breaks down by each fund. So the district runs different funds for different programs. Fund 10 is the general fund, from 21 is food service. Those are my 2 examples. Those are just different sets of books within the main set of books that the district runs. So the one that we focus on a lot would be the general fund, Fund 10. That's where all the general operations of the district roll through. So the upper area that's called assets, like I said earlier, that tells me all the different bank balances. So what was sitting in banks, this would be as of 6/30 of 25. We also get to see if there's any accounts receivable that are out there. And so that would be anything that other entities owe the district. A lot of times that might be a property tax receivable that's out there. The next area down below is called the liability area. And the liability area is, for the most part, like I referred to, it's either your accounts payable or it sits with a lot of your payroll benefits and deductions. You should see in that lower area that in the liability area that all the numbers sit in parentheses. And there's a number halfway down. It's a deferred revenue number, and it shows without a parentheses at $146,000. So that's what's considered an unnatural balance. The natural balances should have that parentheses around it. So that's another number that Kim and I are going to ask Dimitri about.
And what is that?
Well, it says it's a deferred revenue 1902. The 1902 is a grant code, but that's a grant code global source. So we haven't been able to figure that out quite yet, what that was, but we don't want to remove it without having a conversation with Dimitri. So if that does get removed, that actually does work as a positive in the district's behalf. So, and then the other area down below, the fund equity. The area that I want you guys to get super used to watching is the line that says general fund net fund change. So the most recent reports that you guys shows a number that doesn't have a parentheses around it of $22,034. That is a loss. So unfortunately, you have to have a little bit of accounting, knowing that if it doesn't have a parentheses around it, it's actually a loss for those reports. So again, huge swing from what we had provided to you guys last week. So now I'll stop there. Do you guys have any questions so far about a balance sheet?
Could you just tell me what the table reserve?
Yeah, so that is part of a state statute.
Right.
It's 3% of all general fund expenditures for the year.
So that's our reserve.
Yeah, so that has to sit for a rainy day, which that rainy day will never
That's a
come.
rainy day.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It'll never be rainy enough for us to be able to tap into that, but yes. Maybe someday, right? So, and then as you go through each page, it'll start to show each different fund. So Fund 19, which is the next one down, is the preschool fund. Then we go into the food service fund. And the food service fund, again, I always jump down to that net fund change line. So what I see with the food service is that they are at a positive $39,000 at the end of the year, because it's got a parentheses around it. Then you get to see Fund 22, which is grant fund. Grant funds are sitting at a loss of $368. And a lot of that tells me that we are behind in asking for reimbursements on grants.
Who does that?
We have someone on our staff that is helping Shay out currently with getting that caught up. That's a pretty big project, but they're currently working on it. Fund 23 is your activities account, so all student activities and clubs. Fund 31, which is the bond debt fund. Really, we don't have a lot of control over that. The only thing that the board has to do, which is in December, we'll certify the mills, which gets the property tax collections for the interest and principal that we owe each year on that bond debt.
So just on that,
Yeah,
walk me through that page.
yeah, so
How much, I guess what I'm looking to figure out is how much outstanding bond debt do we have?
So unfortunately, in the state of Colorado, it's another kind of interesting way that the books read, is that we don't show on the books the long-term, long-range debt. So we can see that in our audit report when the audit does get produced.
So we do show the payment on the bond.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Fund 41, you guys must have had some building activity bond related activity at some point. And Fund 43 is capital reserve funds. So that's money set aside for any repairs that are needed throughout the district. Fund 74 is part of student activities. And then Fund 90 just reports out, let's see here, you actually do get to see your bond payment on Fund 90 at the very, or the bond payable at 2.6.
That's what we pay.
That I want to verify. Kim, I don't know if you had a chance to do that yet. If that is actually the outstanding amount that's on the bonds.
I have not looked at that yet, no.
Okay. So two different lines on there. Bond payable at the top of 2.6, but then there's a total issued of 4.6. So we'll have to look at both of those.
I was kind of waiting until Dimitri had 23, 24, see if there was any adjustments
Yeah.
before I made any more changes.
Sounds like Wizard of Oz. Just have this random voice talking to us. So, and I know it's gonna be kind of difficult for you guys to do this on your screen, but the income statement, which again is provided, and this is in summary form. You see a summary form, but you guys also did receive full detail as well. So, with the income statement, how you guys get to check if the audit or if the accountants are doing their jobs right, if finance is doing their jobs right, is that on the income statement, your year-to-date activity, so that's the second column over, on the front page for Fund 10 shows $22,034 at the very bottom. And that number is that net fund change that we saw on the balance sheet. So that is the difference of revenues and expenditures going out for the month, or for this portion, it's for the year. That sometimes is off. I will tell you that the first set of financials that you guys received last week, it's off by $34,000. So I was gonna play the, let's play the gotcha game with the accountants. But we were able to correct it over the weekend. So anyway, those two numbers, so that you know that you're counting your, everything ties together, always checking those two numbers, my net change on the balance sheet to what I see as my profit or loss on the income statement. I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you guys. going forward, you guys are going to see balance sheets and income statements monthly. It's a good practice to get into. Districts that have had, finance staff in place for many years and the books are more stable. Most of those districts see financials quarterly. But when we're in a situation that we are and teaching new staff members, having new people come on board, it's best practice for you guys to see your reports, whether or not you have a presentation on them or not, monthly. So that way you guys are very, very up to date with, are the books being maintained on an appropriate timeframes.
Yes. What I'm worried about is the 22-23. And granted, these years all start to run together, but did we not get a clean audit on that one? So then they released our funds, but then, so now Dimitri is not sure if he wants to go back. But if each of these are built off of the previous, so I'm just looking at a big can of worms and just like, what? I mean, I guess it is safe to say that this, I can understand where Dimitri's coming from, because I think that is the year that we switched to.
22-23, I believe you were with a different auditor. 23-24, Dimitri comes into play. So what Dimitri has to do is verify all of those numbers from the previous auditor. Most of the times what auditors do is they'll reach out to that previous auditor and ask for their work papers so that they can help support each one of those numbers. The audit is supporting and going through the balance sheet. So the whole process of the audit is that we have to have an answer for every one of those lines and a support documentation piece of paper of some sort that supports those numbers. So again, Dimitri's reached out to the other auditor to find out, can he please get those work papers from 23-24 so he can see where did those numbers come from and how did he come to verify those numbers.
So my concern there is, I know that we had a transition in the middle of that because we had that accountant, and then it became unresponsive, and then that's where Lisa from CDE, or recommended by CDE, was to help. And then I guess that help has ended, or now there's no response. Like, so does Dimitri need to reach out to both and hopefully get an answer from both of them to?
Not to Lisa. From my understanding, Lisa was to help you guys get ready for the audit. And so go through the audit, go through the balance sheet, verify those numbers, do any sort of receivables, money that's owed back to the district, that sort of work. And I can't speak to what happened with that relationship. Dimitri has reached out to the other auditor that did the 22-23. And I don't know if he mentioned that to you when you were on the phone with him. Did he?
We unfortunately had to re-provide the information from Lisa back to the advocates because format and the style that she provided was not matching the things from SDS. And so in a sense, advocates had to recreate the work for lack thereof for Lisa. So that's where part of that came into effect, in addition to our auditor before that just said, here you go, had enough, and left this kind of out there.
Yeah.
So we had a combination of things that just, it was a dumpster fire. This is what we like to refer to things that came about to where literally there was a day that Shay and I dug through one of the big safes that just pulled file after file after file to re-upload and send over. So just so that we could get where we are today. So there was a combination of things with transpired, but nonetheless, we were able to capture and provide an overcome and get some of those things to them, and now we are making progress. I don't know that these two gals ever sleep at night, because what they have done for us just in the short months that we've had that has been far from my neighborhood. So I can't take them down. So they've been awesome.
I understand your frustration though, because it should work as a linear effect, right? I mean, your bank balance, your money that's in your bank continues on. You know, those audits, they are fully verified balances at that point in time. And so what happens with the software, with the accounting process then is that the next year has to be fully verified from those numbers going forward. And so I haven't gone into great depths of conversation with Dimitri on what it was other than the payroll accrual piece that we found over the weekend. That is not a fully verified number.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, which I really hope I am, after 3 years and years of dealing with this, we should be 100% caught up by the end of the year. Like fully, not, hey, we need more extensions, not, oh, just kidding, we thought we were good, not, we switched 5 more people. December, yes?
Yeah.
We're on track.
We are on track.
But also, what I'm hearing is that, no, we are not broke. We don't have a loss of 1.3 million. There's 22,000 that we're like, you can't verify. But really what our issue has become now is a cash flow problem because the county is holding on to our property.
Yep, we are watching cash flow very evenly. So I'm a board member. I want to know, calm my heart down because it's beating really fast. Sarah said something about a balance sheet. The top area was telling me where cash in bank. So I would go to that area so that I can see, okay, it looks like we have about 3 million that we are currently operating on. So we do also get what's the state funding per student. It's called the state equalization. That starts coming here in the month of July. So we do actually have now some income coming in. But yes, all the property tax that that the county is holding on our behalf, we will still collect it dollar for dollar. It just, we won't be able to until that 24 audit is complete.
And then another source then would also be, once we get some of our requests for reimbursements.
Yep.
Because like one of the things that I think that people forget, just in general, is like we talk about revenue, so those are funds that are coming in so that we can operate, but then like we're always worried about revenue and profit are the same. So like, even though we have this money coming in, it's already, if we're doing things right, it's already going somewhere. Yeah, so we don't have McDonald's money, so. But what I'm hearing is that, because it's what, in that last meeting, it's about our monthly expenses for the district, to run the district, it's $1 million. Not the, so we.
Payroll's around 700,000.
And then just general operating, so we're okay in that aspect, it's just the finalizing our audit and then going back and just double checking the previous audit that we were told was okay.
And you're going back one audit, or that audit could lead you back to, does the buck stop like somewhere,
22,
anywhere,
23.
anywhere?
Yeah, he won't have to keep going further back, because where he's going is, you know, the audit that he didn't produce. I'm talking about Dimitri now.
Yeah.
The audit that he didn't produce, which was 22, 23. He has to go back and ask, I have to verify these numbers before I'm picking up the torch to move forward, if that makes sense. And so it won't go back further than 22, 23.
Well, it's just been real rough, so
Oh, yeah.
press but ask.
Yeah, no.
Well, But that makes sense because we had Gary all this time and we had clean audits until we had a switch and Gary retired and then it was now. This is where everybody gets to adopt this new. The puzzle person in me is like,
Yeah.
"Ooh, I wanna dig around and I'm like, I like that stuff, but I just wanna know. I just want to make sure that we are reassuring our staff and our community, yes, we can still operate, yes, we have our funds.
Yeah.
It's this,
Yeah, we are fine for the moment. Kim and I do keep an eye on cash flow. Because, you know, knowing that, yeah, there's a lot of money that is, being withheld from us currently. Thankfully, the district had money saved in reserves. And that's what we were using over the last couple of months. So thankfully, the district has done a great job of having some cash out there to operate on.
Get on my soapbox. I was worried about that. That's been a really big concern of mine. So thank you for saying that.
I hate to keep bringing up the balance sheet, but let me bring it up again. On the front page for Fund 10, when you look down at the equities area, to the very bottom area, that is the money that the district has available to it, meaning real live cash somewhere out there. So I get board members all the time asking me, where is that cash sitting, Sarah? I want to know where it's sitting. So we could go up to the top and I could say, oh, I've got some money sitting in Colorado Trust. See that area? So again, I'm kind of bouncing around, but I want to show you that over time, I'm going to teach you guys how to read some of these reports. And I don't expect you guys to be pros at it or be able to do a whole finance presentation and, you know, just shove me out off on the side because you've got it from there. But I do want you to feel that you can have trust finally in the reports that you guys have and that you can trust for answering some things for yourself that the books are balanced and they're current. So again, knowing that we had that in that equities area, that $2 million sitting out there in cash, that answers the question of, do we have money available to us? Yes. You know, and I feel like I need to provide to you guys or the new administration what's called the daily burn rate. And so you'll know it costs the district $7,000 per day to operate. Just to kind of give that in the back of your minds too.
Tell me again which number I'm looking at to find out how much cash we have in hand. I just want to be very clear that where I'm looking is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we have some things later on that I'm gonna ask what fund it's coming from and I want to be able to look at it.
I want to be able to know.
Yeah,
So that is I'm looking at the front page, Fund 10.
and this is on the balance
The
sheet.
balance sheet, yeah.
Okay,
And down towards the bottom, it sits right above that number that we had, the net fund change of the 22 million or the 22,000, excuse me. There's that number right above
I
it.
see. Okay.
That's the number. And then you can see,
2 million.
yep, 2 million.
Yeah.
And that's unassigned fund balance is what it's called.
So yeah, when it's unassigned, it means that it's grab bag, you know, it's not promised to anything. So those are
Yeah.
available funds.
Yeah. Okay.
I hate to be on my soapbox, but I've got you guys all looking at a balance sheet. Pretty happy to see this. Slowly, slowly, we're gonna get there.
It was never from lack of wanting.
Yeah. So, want to talk a little bit about grants before I'm open for questions and I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time. Grants are an important thing, obviously, to keep coming through the district. So a large funding source, and many positions are aligned to grant sources such as title funds. Along the way, you will see reports that are that are aligned to expenses, actual expenses to the budget amounts. And that's where administration can start to see, do we not have any requests for reimbursements out there? I see a lot of expenses that are aligning to these grants, but I see no money coming in. And that's your trigger, that shows that, yeah, hold on, we haven't been asking for reimbursements on grants. So,
Is there any? I apologize if this is not, if this is an unkind question. However, is there any logical reason why we wouldn't have any requests for reimbursement taken care of immediately? I say this because I work for the public health department and everything is
Yep.
grants.
yep,
And like, we have to do, like, everything is due at a specific time,
Right.
or there's like someone that is texting and emailing and then calling and like, where's this receipt? And here is the whole detailed request for reimbursement from the state. So does this fall into the internal controls area?
some of, different faces in seats and not keeping their eye on the group. Yes, yes. You're referring to the exact process that has to happen within a school district. We need to see receipts, right? And then those all get packaged up and then asked for reimbursement from CDE. So it's the same process that you just referred to. Most of the time, there's a disconnect with a end user, somebody who's got a purchase card or somebody who just made a purchase for something that was aligned to a grant that didn't get communicated to the finance team. So it didn't get coded to that grant. So what we are currently working on is going back through all the expenses to see, were any of these grant applicable, so we can get those reimbursements requested in.
All right,
That
so
makes
I'm
sense.
just, yeah,
Yeah.
so for me, just making sure, because putting it into my lived experience, then I could go to Walmart, use the card and buy all these things, but I need to highlight to our business manager, this amount comes from this line item, this amount from this one, even though
Yep.
it's one receipt.
Yep.
And that is where we're having an
That's the
issue.
big issue that we've run into. So it's the receipts that weren't coded correctly, or there's a staff member that's out there that was supposed to be refunded or reimbursed from a certain grant, but it was never communicated to the finance office. And so payrolls that run, yeah, and they're coded to the general fund and not to a specific grant. So that process is what's currently being worked on, but that's a huge process. Thankfully, CDE allows us to request for prior funds that were awarded to the district. So we're thankful that we can do that. We can take the time to get the funds back in to the district. You have very, very appropriate questions and you're following along exactly.
So kind of touching on payroll a little bit, is that something you're helping us with as well, or is that somebody else?
We have a team that is helping the current staff member with their practice to see if we can't help just shore up some practices and policies that they've been working under. And so kind of stepping in and helping support them.
Without getting too much into the thick of it, do we have an estimated time frame that we can expect all of that to also be on this very clean slates of moving forward?
So to be completely fair and honest with you guys, payroll is the number one top issue
Yeah.
that Kim and I are focused on.
Please.
The reason for that is the payroll and the benefits is the biggest expense that the district has. That has to be right and tight. And so, yeah, that is the very first spot that Kim and I are working to help support the team on, is that payroll has to get corrected.
Yes, totally, 100% agree.
So. Again, I'm trying to be delicate. So I used to work for an accountant. We run payroll. So, I mean, when I was trained, there is like a checklist. There are some, you have to go through and you make sure that whatever their withholdings are. And then we have to make sure, like if there's insurance payments, we have to make sure if they have child support, like, and then having that understanding of like, are we sending the check to the child support agency or is the employer doing it? And Like, these are all things I just don't understand. Okay, so my question is, do we have this checklist now? Because I remember having to log into the portal and submit. What is that? I had to submit something to the state, and then it was like for every time we ran payroll, it was like there were several steps in all these areas for every employer that we did payroll for.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm getting frustrated because I'm like, I'm frustrated because if we are off in that way, and then we go back, Dimitri goes back and he pops open that can of worms and we look at things and we find out that we have been miscalculating things. And then now we have employees that are actually in a different tax bracket than they could owe. But that would be on us. So now my stomach hurts.
So we do have advocates. Kim has shared it with the staff. A checklist that you've processed your payroll, you've input all your time cards. And now we've submitted the batch to the bank so that the direct deposit goes out. After that, there's still a bunch of processes that have to happen after that payroll has been submitted to the bank. And so we have a big checklist for the staff to go through. Yep, I've done that, I've done that, I've done that. One thing that Richard and I were talking about this afternoon was that with the new administration coming in, I would like the opportunity to review that checklist with the team monthly. And so the big thing for that is so that administration knows that the taxes have been paid, the para liability's been paid, the health benefits have been paid. What are the reports that we've used to check those to make sure that the district is withholding the correct amounts and that the employees are paying the correct amounts or not. And so there's lots of different ways of verifying all those numbers that I think in time, the staff has just gotten overwhelmed at certain points. And again, that there just hasn't been a very consistent practice being followed. And that's really where we're striving to get to, is that finance as a whole, the whole department, we run as a very predictable pattern each month. And that there are certain things that we just have to make sure that are taken care of. And that administration has provided those verifications that yes, they have been done. It's not just a word of mouth that Sarah said they were, right? So it's things like that. I think that with changes in the finance chair that's happened over time, there's practices that fall off with that. So again, building consistency, and this is what the district does. These are the practices that we follow. This is the checklist that we do. It's just, it needs to be something that is, yes, it seems like it's something that's going to get repetitive over and over again, but if it's not in front of somebody, that's where it starts to get overlooked.
So our regular meetings are the fourth Monday of the month. And we're gonna get a financial report for every meeting. So then is it unrealistic to expect that every week journal entries can be shown to the superintendent or whatever, so that it's like we are staying up on it, or is that too often?
No,
I
that's.
don't feel it's too often, but
Dimitri actually had asked a district last year that was in a financial hardship that their superintendent reviews monthly journal entries. So again, another way, the superintendent is reporting straight to you guys, finance gets to support that, and allowing that person to be able to speak very soundly to, yes, I have verified all this with the staff. Yeah.
Part of this process too that we found was the gals digging through the numbers, and not only did it identify somewhere our numbers were wrong, but we also, as you could tell, our internal controls were just not there anymore. And some of the things that Kim and Sarah have kind of implemented is even just on the accounts payable side of things, is we're setting deadlines every Thursday. I don't care if it was 1 check or 20 checks, they're in there by Thursday. Because that allows them to be able to work the books for that week as well. So we're starting to get on this habit of every Monday we do this, every Tuesday, every whatever. And in addition to that, it's rather than just one person knowing how to do this, we want to have somebody else know how to do it. People go on vacation or whatever the case may be. So a lot of this cross integration that we just haven't had is something that Jared and I have actually kind of wanted to start building on, and that's something we want to have a conversation with Dr. Drumholtz as well. Because again, if somebody falls ill or they're just on vacation, it's just best practice to have somebody else that knows how to do some of that. And so
Just really starting to look at some more bad habits. And then how we can fix them.
So
Go ahead.
So my request, again, that we go through each department and have an SOP is not ridiculous ask.
I come from an industry that's probably operated. I mean, we had
And so,
a lot of SOPs, policies, I mean, that's just, I think, common practice and common sense to have. You know, again, I go back to the day when I started 14 years ago, I was given the key and said, if you have any questions, let me know. I learned it all on my own, and that's kind of been practice in this district, and that's not talking bad about anybody, it's just, it is sometimes hard in this industry when somebody leaves. It's the next person that fills it in, and then we can only tell them what we know or don't know. And so that's kind of something new, that it's just best to have two people that know the same job, even though it's not your job, but we have you as a backup. So I think things like that, and I have gotten this into some of this gray area, if you will, but it's not gonna happen overnight, but it's a team effort, and whether it's at central office or at all the buildings, it's always good to have somebody else that knows somebody else with you. And we don't wanna see it be a territorial thing, it's called internal controls for a reason. So again, SOP, yeah,
to that, I mean, and I'm not trying to be flippant, but I mean, like, why would we take the territorial over money that's not ours anyway? But also then, so do the bookkeepers from each building meet with, well, we don't have a business manager right now, but like, is that normally?
If I can speak to this to my best of my knowledge, there wasn't a ton of routine meetings for them. It was kind of the beginning of the year, here we go, and there wasn't clean processes for that. I think that there was some verbal communication in those processes, just off of the investigating that I did look at, but it's something that's desired by the bookkeepers that I've met with across the district, looking at having more of those meetings, having a routine monthly meeting at least, especially to get on the right track, to get off the right, it really gets some of those processes down.
and a lot of that too, Shay had mentioned that as well, and I think she's gonna invite both of you all into those meetings with the bookkeepers, because some of the issues we did have was coding. The bookkeepers have access to their various accounts and whatnot, but it may, you know, we bought a bag of basketball that should have been with, I'm just making things up now, Title II monies, but they voted it to another fund. So, you know, it throws everything off. So that's part of the meeting that Shay wants to have with them, is it's not about, I'm telling you how to do your job. It's, we've taken how many codes did you guys take out of SPS?
Yeah. There were
Hundreds of various codes that they've taken out. And so over time, people were entering codes that they didn't know where to put, so they created one. And next thing you know, we went from having 40 some pages of codes down to, I don't know, 10 or 20. So those are the things that from the building level, those bookkeepers need to understand. We're not trying to tell you how to do your job, but also, if you don't know, ask, and we'll tell you what code to put it in, and kind of just level some of those things out.
If you're not telling them how,
yeah.
then how are they supposed to
And that's
know?
part of this process now that Shay kind of wants to start doing now, to kind of explain to them, We're not saying you did anything bad in the past, we just,
No.
from this point forward, we're just how our procedure is gonna be, just so that we don't recreate any of this.
Yeah, I think this is more of, this is the long-term effect of people, a lot of people leaving, but there's a lot of tacit knowledge they take with that.
Oh, absolutely.
And so this, now we're seeing what happens when that happens, and that's why it's like, we need,
Well,
Yeah.
and to go hand in hand with that, once we get everybody up to speed, and I'm not talking about our current staff, but I've been here way too long. We've had a few bookkeepers. Once we streamline this process and put these controls in place, this should weed out the people who are able to do the job, keep up with the job, know the job in and out. So we aren't going to be in a position where we're blindsided, the person filling the seat for X amount of years, all of a sudden, and then it's like, oh, everything's messed up. We're not gonna have that. This is gonna stop that, right?
Yeah, so we have to just keep saying, doing practices, policies, procedures, sticking with that, number one. The other thing is, and we watch this happen all the time, is that a vacancy happens with the business manager, for instance, and the district hires in a new person that they say they have finance skills. Well, they don't have school finance skills, which is a different ball of wax. And unfortunately, what happens a lot of times is that that person gets provided kind of like what you were just saying, here's the keys, and we're gonna get rid of abacus now because you know how to do all this stuff, right, and run. And the problem is there hasn't been a good handoff, and there hasn't been a good identification of, can you really handle the job, or are you good at the 40,000 foot level, but we still need to have somebody at the 60,000 foot level, you know, identifying where those skill sets are, because I think in time, what's happened is there's been weaknesses. But the ball rolls so fast that it's hard to kind of identify that until now you're kind of in it.
A few years down the road.
Yeah, yeah.
It's quite the problem.
Yeah,
well, and then at that point, then it's kind of, and I feel bad for the staff that, because at that point, yes, there's questions, but you don't know what to ask,
exactly.
because it's snowballed, and it's just like, I don't even.
Take it back to your secretary at each one of the schools. If they don't understand why is that coding even important? You know, if they've never even been simply answered in that level, how are they gonna provide that they're gonna value that their job is actually the beginning into the front door of the district's books, is that person right there. So there's another spot that Kim and I wanna make sure that that person understands how important their job is, because that's what starts the whole story behind it. So it's just different ways of looking at things. And not being in such a hurry to hire in that position and then throw all the bank logins and all the keys to the kingdom and all the everythings and run with it, because that person may or may not really be able to handle the job. Or they also too, this is a big district. It takes multiple skill sets. So.
And I would like to also say that I appreciate that the reports will be coming from the system itself, and not a color-coded Excel spreadsheet
Yeah.
to say, this is how much money we have.
Yeah, I could easily, number one, gloss over the fact that the reports last week had some errors in it. I could easily gloss over the fact that, I've got some funds here that aren't fully verified yet. For instance, the debt service fund. And I don't wanna roll that way. I wanna be able to give you guys the opportunity to see everything. And you have your chance to look through everything and ask questions if you want to. And along the way, I promise you, I will point out stuff that I'm like, hey guys, I'm gonna take off my finance hat and I'm putting on my board member hat because I really want us to talk about this piece right here. And the reason for that is because I don't expect that you guys are gonna be a mean person, but I am gonna see red flag errors along the way that we need to bring to your attention.
Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So question on payroll, sorry, just to go back a little bit. So how do we as a board know that the payroll is running how it should without the errors, because payroll's been a problem for a really long time, and every time that's been brought up, it's, oh, we've taken care of the problem, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
We've taken care of it, and then,
A
you know,
lot.
a couple months later, it's like, oh, this is still a problem, and then it's like, oh, no, we found the problem, now it's fine. So, you know, we're supposed to trust those telling us that it's been fixed, and then the staff is telling us that it's not.
Then we get to meet confirmed, we find out that in fact it's not.
Well, there's people getting paid completely wrong checks that weren't even made out to them. It was a completely different staff member, and I'm just like, we keep getting told that it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. So
Yeah.
at what point, like,
So some of that is, you as board members are on oversight and administrators are on the nitty gritty weeds of it. And there are certain things that, we'll put in place so that the administration knows that more of that level of, did we know that Sarah Segrist got paid and then it wasn't Sarah Hines that got paid instead of, for you guys as a board though, balance sheet, that liability area is mostly accounts payable and payroll liabilities. We should have very little amounts sitting in that payroll liability area on our balance sheet. If you see large totals in there, something's broken. And that was one of the first areas that Kim and I were able to start looking at. It's like, oof, something's going on in here. And we were able to uncover some sticky wickets down in there. So again, looking at the liability areas.
I was gonna say, I can back up to this. Jared and I actually spoke and we put in some new payroll approval processes just within the past 2 weeks with the checklist, and he is approving it, and we're going through different levels at this point, and we're doing it also with accounts payable. So we've already put in some of those practices so we can get them started right away.
I'm sorry if we're bombarding you with a lot,
No,
but
It's been a really long time since we got to really like ask a bunch of questions and have so much. I've been on this board for 9 years and I don't know if anyone has ever sat me down and said, hey, this is what you should be looking at and this is important to you because here, why don't you look over here? See, I messed that up. You should know that I messed.
Yep.
It's just been quite some time since we've had that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think for me anyway, it's just knowing that the decisions that we make are affecting people in our community. We're affecting a lot of livelihoods and just it's a hard pill to swallow that we're gonna have to go back. But I do appreciate that the information is being highlighted. I think that is important, not only for us, but the community to understand what is going on in the district and the whys of how we come to certain decisions and whether we can afford this or that or where it's coming from. Because some things are paid by grants, but some things are from the general fund, and
Yeah.
this is helpful to a lot of people. And I really appreciate the time and effort that, you ladies put in this. Richie cannot stop singing your praises like every other day. He's like, oh my God, these gals, they blow my mind. I didn't even know.
Well,
So-
if you can't tell, this is our jam. Kim and I both love doing this kind of stuff. And we're very passionate about it. I will tell you that it breaks my heart when books are so unraveled and not kept well. Because for me, it feels like we are shortcoming the staff and ultimately the students from experiences. It also is frustrating when we come into a district and they've done a lot of layoffs based on an idea when we've been able to clean something up and, well, you guys didn't need to lay off so many staff.
Mhm.
If the books were more current for you guys, you'd be able to know that, no, we're good, we're good. We don't need to be so reactive. And we can start doing those field trips for those kids because we do have the funding, or it might need to come from that grant, but you know what, guys, let's get it going. So, again, that's something that I always watch to make sure that, you know, in time, when your books are accurate and they're closing on time and you guys are getting your timely reports, that helps you make your decisions on how you want to lead the district and what programs you want to start to offer, because you know, we can support that.
I have one last question. On the balance sheet, on the long-term liabilities, what is the contra account?
So are you looking on Fund 10 or are you looking on Fund 90?
90.
On Fund 90?
Yeah.
So what Fund 90 does is it's basically considered a reporting fund. So what it's doing is it's reporting out the numbers to CDE, interest rate, the amount that those loans were, and this is where Kim, we haven't verified those two totals in there of whether or not it's been reduced every year by the interest and principal payments. So what Fund 90 is doing, and some of those accounts are being used in very odd ways, but it's how CDE can see what the interest rate was on those bond issuances, what year did those bond issuances happen. And so the contra account, I can't speak to completely. We will be able to once we verify what Fund 90 is
Okay,
producing.
so you can come back and, because that's a big number.
That is a big number. Yeah, and it might be that that's what the bonds were actually issued at. Was that 11 million? I don't know that. I mean, how many years ago did those bonds wake up?
16?
It's been a while. We don't need to go down that route.
Yeah.
So you'll come back with some information.
Primary, there was based up 2008 or 9 for state. Then we got it back for this, for the primary, which is.
I actually, I think, I'm not, I think the total bond for the primary was 4.6, is this 4.6 million? I think that's what the bond was, and that was our match, that we had to match the best rate.
Oh, interesting.
So I think that was the primary bond, but I don't know that 11 million or what that is. So. you
Yeah,
can
it'll
come
be
back.
interesting to see how those all roll together. Yeah,
I might
I'll do that for you.
That's right. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, be excused.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the financial report as presented. Any further questions? Roll call.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Coleman,
Aye.
Mrs. Leyland.
Aye. Minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting on June 23rd and the special meetings on June 25th, as well as July 11th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on June 23rd and special meetings from June 25th and July 11th. Any questions, comments, or corrections? Roll call.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Coleman,
Aye.
Mrs. Leyland.
Aye. All right, interim committee reports. Mr. Romero first.
Again, I just thank Sarah and Kim enough for what they've done.
Thank you.
I've known that you guys, and I've learned a lot over that, and I really think we'd be remiss to let them go sooner than, than we have to. I think I brought this up a few meetings before, and it's kind of a short conversation I've had with Dr. Gumbel, and I honestly feel that, we hang on to them just for the time being before going that business in their spot. They're thick enough in the lead right now that I think we just need to let them roll with that for, a few more minutes, if you will. Because they really helped us a bunch, so. Thanks to them on that.
I just want to hop in on that, in the different places I've been, you usually meet your CFO, your business manager, it's something that they're good at, not always something they're passionate at. It's almost on how passionate both these individuals are for finances. Usually, you know, you get a call on a Thursday night late, it's never anything good. And it was like one of the first times that Kim gave me a call. I was so excited that she sounded out of breath that she was able to uncover some of these findings and reduce that going down to the 22,000. And so just to echo the great work they're doing, the amount of hours they've already put in, the time that they're putting outside of an normal work week, it is tremendous. I think they're very capable, and they've kind of proven that. Even establishing just lanes of communication, establishing some of those processes as internals that we're talking.
Next thing I have, I came into the building last Tuesday prior to all the festivities for the weekend, and all the buildings were in normal summertime shambles. And then by the time we came on Friday, they were not what I saw on Tuesday. So I really want to recognize our entire custodial and maintenance staff in the district, because between the ground, between the insides, they really made it presentable for the tours, for the candidates. I sent an email out to Kristen and all the principals, just sending my thanks to them for what they did, because they really rubbed the lamp in 2 days and made our campuses look very good. So my hat off to maintenance and custodial staff. As you see, we'll get down later in the agenda on the roof report. Towards the end of last year, this is Barta at high school did a tremendous job in getting control of all of our chemicals that was in the chem room up at the high school. We had some chemicals that were removed, and then actually this past Monday out of the blue, the state showed up and they came and removed 76 pounds of mercury that we had at the high school.
What?
And so, Steve Torrance, fortunately enough, is gonna try and work on a grant to help cover the cost of that. If that doesn't come through, that'll be a district cost of about $4,000, but nonetheless, we got 76 pounds of mercury removed off of our site. They are gonna work on a second shift to remove some of the other chemicals that we have in place. Although they're not, you know, volatile or anything like that, but we're also gonna try to use that second shift to remove those remaining chemicals, in addition to just any other chemicals that have been sitting around since the 80s or 90s or whatever. And they're gonna work on a grant on that as well. So that's actually been a huge feat for the district for, I'm gonna say probably since I was in high school, and that 30 years ago. So that's kind of a big deal. Phones, we got some phone updates going on. We had to update some software on central office and primary school sites. With that, it's gonna allow us to do some internal calling rather than having to call a building by direct number. We can just do an internal calling, small luxurious feature, but that's just part of the licensing upgrade. But that will be something that will be heavily used for the district. So excited about that, actually. I do see on our things here to remind you all that if you want your photo taken, go on August 11th at the high school. Unfortunately, this year I did not get the school security disbursement grant. As I told you in my last update, their fund was generally $15 million. This year it was cut down to $1 million. And so they capped that. Everybody's request at $100,000. Unfortunately, we were not selected this time around. So hopefully I see them get better. Maybe the fund will go up, and obviously I'm gonna request it again next year, but we'll see where those funds are, because they had a substantial cut in their funding for that program there. Other than that, that kind of covers everything I have. I really want to thank you guys for putting trust in me to do this. I learned a lot in the last 4 or 5 months that I didn't think I would learn. Something that I didn't think came to my job, but what I learned in the last 5 months, I know it's made me better. And so my hat off to you and even to Jared. We're a heck of a team, and we did what we did with what we had and what we knew, and I feel like we accomplished some things and started these things, and we've done good. So thank you to you guys for but entrusted me to oversee the district, and I owe a lot to our principals that really, did their part in the buildings to help us do what we needed to do to make the job, so. That's my operational report, in addition to my safety report that I was supposed to give in June anyway, so. I am sad, but not sad to say that I probably won't see you guys until my next time in February, so. Thank you all again.
Come on, meetings, hang out, Richie.
Yeah.
On that opening session, it has on here Monday, August 5th. Is it Monday or is
It's
it?
actually supposed to be August 4th,
Okay,
the open session.
okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
Good catch.
And I know, just to put a clarification, but you certainly made it sound like it was optional to have your picture taken. You're reading your packet, it does not come across like it's optional, so plan.
And to be honest with you, that
Is
is
it optional?
the reason why I think it may sound intentional or mandatory. Because that's the pretty picture that we use the data at central office that we give them. So unless you use, your fancy TikTok one or Snapchat one or whatever one you want to use, that's the one they use, so.
Can I ask a question regarding Abacus?
Yeah.
So they have been doing substantial work for us. Can you kind of tell us what their fees compare to as to what we were paying a CFO?
I believe we are paying them, I wanna say $6,000,
That's what you said last
Yeah.
Okay,
So if, when you factor in your benefits and whatnot, I still think we have a cost saving.
it's cheaper. I knew that. I just wanted you to say it out loud.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes.
Can I add to that piece too? I think that one thing, when I met with Dimitri as well, kind of just was brainstorming what some of these districts are, right? It makes sense, you get some of these larger districts that can afford a CFO that, pays what it needs to and it fits, right? Cause it's a niche position. But when you start to get some of these rural schools and these smaller schools, we're in that weird spot where it's not like we're a tiny school where it's easier to manage, we're big enough, we're kind of just in this weird middle ground. But we kind of started breaking down that same concept of just comparing what we're paying them versus what we would save on the, not having to pay the benefit side of things is huge. I think one thing that we just want to make sure that we're cognizant of is some of those logistical works. Like you said, making sure that we have somebody that's going in to get those grants back and requesting those funds. Some of those other processes, and I think that's going to be kind of highlighted hopefully in the next short time period with Abacus of breaking down all these different processes and seeing what exactly do we need to have boots on the ground to do. Because as awesome as magical as I think it'd be to like flop a position with Abacus at this point, I just want to make sure that we don't have anything that we're all of a sudden going to pull from another department to try to facilitate that, if that makes sense. So trying to put together really a strategic plan on what really that money savings will look like. I think it'll be there, but it's something that will take some time to look at.
And remind me, we did in fact advertise that CFO position and what did we have for applicants?
I think at one point we had one applicant.
Right now, we have 3.
3.
Are we advertising it as a CFO or as a business manager?
Business manager.
I call it CFO.
Oh, okay. But we've been advertising that for a really long time.
I think the most recent app we got was just last week. The one before that was probably a month ago. Then the first one was maybe a couple of weeks after that, but that was one position I really thought we would have tons of apps, but part of that might have just been salary, I don't know.
Or state of the books. No one wants to voluntarily walk into that.
And it's kind of, refer to it as this niche thing, right? Like it'd be, I think of it like refereeing. You can pay referees $1 million a game and it's still, they're having to deal with so much other stuff. It's hard to hear people. When you have a situation like this too, it's like this niche. It's like this, you have to have this unique ability and to be able to do it. It's not like so many other positions where you can really coach someone into it. They got to come in with a high set of skills to get started. I think that's just part of it is our location and having somebody that's got the knowledge and the skill base to get into it. It's a very hard position to fill.
It's kind of like Sarah said, just you could have worked in the finance world for 1 million years, but if it wasn't school finance, it should have been for world.
Just
Well,
that.
I don't think I can sign up for a class on SDS at Otero, so.
Yeah, well, right, like, that's what you're doing, and then you start looking at the other stuff, right, the fires that, we gotta start kind of controlling and managing, and then the other side of it is, you gotta have a leader in those shoes too. You can't have somebody that can just sit behind a computer and crunch numbers all the time. They gotta be a leader where when they're going out meeting with all your bookkeepers and they're having those conversations, they can help teach them, they can see whenever they're struggling, willing to adapt to what they need to get them to be successful. And so it's a niche position that's very difficult to fill.
Thank you.
I'm not sure who handles this, but can we get the website updated and improved?
As far as I know, we went live with our new website July 1.
That's correct.
Okay.
July 1, the new website went up. We are still in process of just making sure that everything's up to date. I know we're really behind on all the documents and stuff, and I know my website coordinator was trying to get with with Heather and trying to get any new financial documents. And those are, I don't think we were ever able to get those to update those. And if we wanted to give with each individual person, with their department, to hey, give us the most up-to-date documents, let's update it and everything. So I know it's a work in progress, but the new website is live on July 1 and everything. And hopefully it's a little bit more easier to navigate.
Do you have a list of compliance, things that need to absolutely be on there that we can prioritize first?
I don't know exactly, I know financial transparency is usually really top. But besides that, I don't know what we need to do first per se like that.
Jack gets a list from the state.
I'm sorry?
There's a list that comes from the state that Jack has.
Okay.
Let's just make sure we've got what we need on there.
And the rest, that's not, that can come as it
Right.
goes, but I wanna make sure the things that are required, if that's the only thing on there, then that's the only thing on there.
I agree.
Your turn, Jared.
So, I've been working on that consolidated applications we talked about, or Title I last time we met. Title I was due. Title I was sitting, off the top of my head, we were at about 1.1 million for Title I funding last year. We were cut down to just a little over 800,000, going into next year, just out of Title I funds. To my knowledge, we are still under, to where we don't know Title II, 3 or 4 just yet. We're anticipating cuts in those. And as time will tell, we'll be able to see what that looks like. With some of the cuts with Title I, started looking at, and again, this is preliminary. So some of the work we did was just trying to make sure that we could come in under budget, for what we were granted. And then, whoever took the role for superintendency could go in and get that detailed budget about specific, changes that they want to make. Right now, when looking at just Title I, we had such a large portion of it that were salaries. That what I started looking at taking out of Title I has been processes. So one big one on that was the funding that we had for each building to participate in SCAP. I used my best judgment to start looking at how we can cut that program funding, rather than cut people, and then take what that program is supposed to give us as far as those internal audits, those audits of really all the processes that you're doing, and see how we can recreate that same type of system in-house. We have a lot of initiatives. I just felt like it was one more on board that, yes, it gave us some benefits, but I felt like, it didn't outweigh the staff that were, their salaries were getting paid out of that.
Can I stop right there?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're saying looking at something to create in-house, but is that not what we're doing with the strategic planning with Empower and TNTP?
To an extent, yes. What I'm trying to get at is, as to where SCAP really gives you these outside eyes to come in and just analyze these 4 components of everything you're doing across the board. Yes, we're gonna be doing that, but right now our work with TNTP and UVA is almost like a microscopic lens of this specific piece that we're working on.
I was trying to think of a way that we could still develop this system where maybe we have teachers from one building going to analyze teachers from another building to another building, just to kind of still give them that outside perspective to collect some of that data that they could use on their daily practices.
Okay, but, so we have UVA and then some work with TNTP. But that's for leadership and instructional supports. I don't know the word I'm looking for that.
Yes.
But then we also have strategic planning.
Yes.
That was kind of supposed to be TNTP and Empower kind of
Yes.
both.
Yes.
And the board should be involved in that process with.
Yes.
Do you have information on that in your update? I don't want to jump ahead.
We have not gotten to that point yet, actually.
Okay.
And Josh, I'm gonna introduce Josh here in a minute as well. But that is that next step that we hadn't got to yet. I've been put on the back burner as far as, when that was gonna take place for the board to jump onto that. We just hadn't got there yet.
And then we also have the board training for.
Yes,
Turner.
yes,
Okay.
exactly.
All right. Sorry.
No, you're good. So kind of jump into, TTP, we had that work in June. Almost every single one of our building leaders was able to attend that. K-12, a lot of great stuff. We talked about big rocks with UVA. We're gonna talk about some arcs as we navigate through some of the TNTP lingo. So just know as you're hearing some of that, we're following kind of that same process that we're identifying something that we want to improve on, giving it a specific time limit, identifying barriers for that, whatever that goal may be, how we're going to accomplish it, and then how we're gonna, put it under a microscope of what are we gonna do on a day-to-day basis as leadership to help us maintain progress towards those goals. So kind of that same piece. We had that in June, and then for UVA, we just got back from a trip in July with building principals, where we attended UVA, started looking at our big rocks going into next year. One thing that we as an admin team sat down and looked at was how we could really infuse both those partnerships together as one. So that as we're talking about these arts and we're talking about these big rocks, we're not having these separate agendas that people are working on. So putting those together, deciding on what is going to be our top priorities. So we did that. Got some data to come back to. Today we actually had Josh Smith that came with us from TNTP to help us start breaking down those arcs, which is going to be our first quarter of the school year, and really what that looks like. I would like to introduce Josh. Josh is Director of School Partnerships. Josh Smith. We'll go to you.
Yeah, can I say a few words?
Yes.
It's great to meet you all and see you all. I feel like I've seen you on YouTube, so it's great to be here in person. I'm actually able to join. As Jared shared, again, my name is Josh Smith. I am the Director of School Partnerships with TNTP, and I'm thrilled to be TNTP's primary support partner for La Junta Intermediate as part of the Partial Management Partnership this year, and also working really closely with the primary school as well. We have spent a couple rounds now, both time in May, as well as a week in June, and then all day today, and we'll spend half the day tomorrow continuing doing some really deep strategic planning, just to really diagnose where are the highest lever gaps we can pull and really get clear on our big rock priorities for the year, which we have really locked in and are now in the process of building out detailed kind of data systems and trackers to really support teachers. And just to preview, I know this is very informal and kind of last minute because I happen to be here. Happy to do a more formal presentation at some point if helpful, but we're really focusing in on the two big rocks around one, implementation of high quality instructional materials. We know that both primary and intermediate have really good high quality curricula in place this year, which is a key foundational piece. But it is also true that to be able to support teachers to make sense of that and really deeply internalize those units and the lessons and the content, as well as thinking about what are potential misconceptions or barriers to learning that we need to be prepared to support students with, takes a lot of work. So a lot of our work together so far in our planning, and then we'll be launching at the start of the school year, is around really supporting teachers through PLCs to dig deeply into those curriculum materials, really deeply understand units, lessons, and assessments prior to teaching. And then the second big rock is around strengthening just consistency and quality of instruction. And so I know you all have adopted a vision of instruction last year at school. really turning that into a series of quarterly sprint cycles, where we're really getting granular on like, what are these practices actually looking to sound like in the classroom that can be leveraged both to build out high quality PE for teachers. We'll start this week and into next week, as well as classroom walkthroughs and some one-on-one coaching, observation and feedback rounds to listen for teachers around those two areas. So those are our two big buckets that we're digging in on. And yeah, thrilled to be in this partnership and excited to have the chance to work with you all over the course of the year, and happy to answer any and all questions that come up, or at another point, if it's appropriate, happy to give a more kind of detailed update on our progress and what we're getting into.
Can I try to ask some questions and see if you
Please.
think, okay, so when we were looking at strategic planning, then of course, you know, we had to look at who was approved by CDE. So I went down that rabbit hole and I looked up like your application so that you guys could be considered for, I mean, because there were multiple things. It was either like strategic planning, or there was partial managers, or like there's different areas that you could provide services for, approved by CDE. So when I'm looking at the rubric of like the things, so, and this was a while ago, but what it sounds like what you're talking about is more focused on intermediate school and those plans. But I was understanding the strategic planning being more like on a district level to take a look at systems, because that's where I think that we have a lot of issues. And then, so I don't know if that is part of what you're doing, but then I know that there was like a Splash partnership with Empower.
Yes.
So that is where I'm confused, and where can the board, like, is there a document that will show like the outline of like, here's the 3 big rocks, and we are at like A section, A1, A2, so we can see like where is the progress of this and follow it along. I'm asking because there are some people who are like, you can tell me this and I can hear it for a little bit, and then I'm gonna go home and make dinner and do these things, and then I have no idea and I can't go back and reference it.
Yes.
So,
It's a great question. So let me answer the parts that I can answer now and commit to getting back to you on the parts that I can't answer. So Jared and I touched base about this today. My work so far, and what I am working on behalf of the NTP to do, is very much focused on the partial management work with intermediate school at the moment. That is our focus. We're happy to be working closely with primary as a partner in that, but that is 100% so far what the focus has been, what the scope of our work has been. I am aware that there was also a push to do some district level strategic planning that initially was going to be with Empower, and then when Empower found out, well, we're going to be working with TNTP, there was a question of whether or not to merge that, pass that. I honestly don't know what the status of that is. What I had been told back in the spring was that given leadership transitions and timing, that it might make sense to wait and do a bigger district level strategic planning process a bit later. But to be honest, I'm not affiliated with Empower Schools, and so I need to go back and work with Jared to make sure that we have clear updates on what the status of that separate district strategic planning grant that I know was initially approved, but I know there was looking into expanding the timeline scope of when that could occur to happen a little bit later on in the school year. And I just don't have the most up-to-date information on what the status of that is, but I'll absolutely get that information and get back to you.
okay, so for anybody listening in the room, comparing the two, I guess, vendors of strategic planning, I would recommend looking into staying with the TNTP at the district level strategic planning, because the way that they broke down the services provided and what we need help in just were so. Well, I will share the documents with you guys so you can see it for yourself what I'm talking about, and then read into like what it is that we need, because I feel like that with a new board coming in and then leadership change, it is like when we talk about systems, we're talking about like how we do our financials, how we do our onboarding for new employees, how we do, every department, like an SOP, but like we analyze those things, and then y'all will like kind of, as third party, go through and take a look and see in partnership with our staff of what some of the things are that are lacking or where there are weaknesses, a gaps analysis, if you will. Do some of the things that are occurring in this in this district happen because of a lack of skill or a lack of will? And you weed that out as part of the strategic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the district level strategic plan is a much more, you know, I think we're operating in with the work in the school is very granular in classrooms, very specific. The district level strategic planning process is obviously a much higher level diagnostic review, identifying gaps, and working with you all to craft a longer term vision that incorporates beyond academics and instruction, which is my focus for right now. That would incorporate HR and community engagement, all the other elements that is much wider breadth. And so, yes, I will follow up and get back to you on the status of that, make sure we have clarity of what the timeline is, what the status of that grant funding is. And secondarily, to your question around just like having it in paper, for the partial management piece, I'm absolutely happy to get you very detailed information around what we have laid out, what our implementation kind of goals and benchmarks are over the course of the year, in addition to getting information on the broader strategic planning for the district level.
I would love that. I get kind of nerdy into all that stuff, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, sorry, Jared.
Hope you're good. That was kind of it. Didn't have any other huge transitions other than the great work that we're doing today and tomorrow, kind of getting prepared for the upcoming school year. And then kind of just as Richie alluded to it, I appreciate the opportunity to step in as the interim role. Kind of steer the ship. You know, I could have done without Richie with a lot of things. So those supported everybody here. I've mentioned it in multiple scenarios, but the great thing that this last semester really did was brought a lot of our building leaders together, leaning on each other, and how had a lot of wins just, you know, relying on one another. So it's a great opportunity to learn, and I just want to you guys thank you for that.
We are on item 6, unfinished business. Item 8. I suppose that it's just recommended that we approve the.
Having a moment of, yeah.
You're gonna be a lead on that one, but.
I know one point we were missed that, but yeah, I recommend we
The following policy.
following last policy.
I'd entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve revised policies JF, GBGD, JICJ, IJ, KEC, ACA, JICA, JLCD, JLDAC, and KFA on second and final reading. Questions, comments?
Looking at JICA, which is student dress code. I know this has kind of been a hot button topic at the secondary level. I'm glad that we are keeping up with our end and keeping our policies on board, but is anyone actually enforcing said policy? Yes?
That's where when we were talking about the county ISS review. So we started getting to that where the students go call home for a different shirt or pants or whatever, to change their clothing. Some kids go home and never come back. At the ISS, that would be another shortfall of keeping them in school instead of home. So there's another piece of that too that we.
So our intent is to keep them on campus in appropriate dress, but in a separate area.
Better than going home, not come back.
Any other questions or comments?
I guess and Sarah, you raised this at the last meeting. I guess at some point we'll take a look at JICJ, the cell phone policy. Some point.
We'll be required to, but
Well, we've begun talks about it, but I think it's beneficial to go further down that road.
Right,
Not right this moment, but
Right.
at some point.
right. Be on your list.
Yeah.
any other questions or comments? Roll call?
Mrs. A. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Coleman,
I,
Mrs. Leyva.
Aye. New business, item A.
This is a technology update. This is part of our E-rate stuff. Basically, it's gonna be used to purchase racks for our current system. We had actually purchased battery backups last year. Battery backups were too big to fit in the racks. So this is part of our normal E-rate. As you can see from the quote on there, and we've got a huge 85% discount. That's what the E-rate gave, and then so our portion was 20,000. So I recommend making that just simply so that we can actually input our battery backups into these racks that we've been sitting on for quite some time.
Make a motion to approve technology upgrade equipment.
Second. A motion and a second to approve the technology upgrade equipment in the amount of $20,749.66 as presented. Questions or comments? Roll call?
Mrs. A. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Coleman,
I,
Mrs. Leyva.
Aye. Item B.
Do you guys have both the quote and the map on your end?
Yes.
yes,
Okay, so, obviously the roof is a heavy topic right now, and unfortunately without the best grant, we've got to make do and just try to make some sort of attempt to control what we have going on. If you look on that map, you'll see the orange part, which is basically X6, that entire X is basically an problem, as well as the green areas, which are basically the commons areas, and then the skylight outside near the auditorium. They have identified those areas of major concern. That's probably what's causing what we have been seeing here recently in our tours and whatnot. So the code that attached to that for the 44,000 is what will, not saying it's gonna be a permanent fix, but it'll give us long enough of a fix that's gonna get us through the remainder of this rainy season and snow season. And then buy us some additional time until hopefully we can get the best grant or do something there. But apart from that, other than not doing anything at all. And recommend we do the repairs in the amount of $44,939 to at least give our students a clear hallways without trash cans
I appreciate
and
that.
whatnot.
I make a motion to approve roof repairs at junior senior high school.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the roof repairs at the junior senior high school in the amount of $44,939 as presented. Questions, comments?
is there any guarantee, if they make this repairs and they're done and it rains in 2 weeks and it's leaking, we have any?
They're giving us anywhere from 6 to 12 month lifespan on patchwork.
Okay.
Obviously, if we have some failure within a short amount of time, would there be some warranty attached to that? But,
So this is a 6 to 12 month fix,
yeah. Hopefully longer.
right?
Have we used this company before?
I believe we have,
One in the Colorado Springs. I think we have, I was trying to remember the exact, what it was for, but I know, part of, in meeting with Mr. Lyle, part of this piece is that they have so many, it's a larger business, they have a ton of different resources, the speed in which they could get things done, get down here, just the workforce behind it made them an attractive, contractor to work with.
What is the timeline for doing it?
Soon as this gets approved tonight, but that'll be the first call I'll sure Mr. Mile makes tomorrow morning. So it'll be just a matter of their workload and their time frame, but once this is approved, it'll be his first phone call tomorrow to get down here yesterday if they can, so.
And really just put the heat on trying to have everything done before that snow hits, because it, just like any, any other conversation we've had, as soon as snow falls, it seems like that roof is so treacherous, you can't do anything to even help it at that point. So basically it's a call to try to make sure that we have it done before the snowy season hits.
Well, I appreciate the effort it took to get this going. I mean, we had to get something going regardless. I don't want to, in 6 to 12 months, I won't be here. And I don't want you guys to take your foot off the gas on trying to figure out permanent solutions to getting the roof replaced or whatever needs to happen. The environment in which our students are currently learning is unacceptable. And we all know that, and I really appreciate you expeditiously taking strides to correct that before we get into school this upcoming year. So thank you.
In addition to the best grant, we, coincidentally, we closed out the portion of the school security disbursement grant the previous year. We had to close that out 2 weeks ago. And they'll be on there, in fact, asked us, how's it coming on the roof? Because as we had mentioned before, they wanted to throw money at that, but we had that bill. But they had said that they may have some other grants in addition that will work in conjunction with the best grant that they need to look through our way. So I can tell you at the state level right now, our roof at the high school is on their to-do list or their desk or their,
I'm so glad to hear it.
So,
It's getting talked about for sure.
I'm so glad to hear
it's a hot topic right now.
So just making sure I understand, this patchwork does not affect changes in our in our where we are in priority for trying to get the best grant. Like we're not, like before, we couldn't get that other grant because then we would have used taxpayer dollars to make this fix, but then turn around and use taxpayer dollars to tear it apart. So it would have been a waste of funds. This does not do that to
I
our.
don't believe so because we're basically using our own money for that. And so to me, that would be more of a push of we just spent another $45,000 to fix this issue that we have. And, and something I think I talked to Jared about this and I don't, Jared finished the best grant with what was given by somebody else. But the biggest thing with best grant is we have to really highlight safety over kids. And I don't know that that was implemented in the grant previously. And so we now have some tips and tricks and how we can reword some of that stuff. So hopefully, typically we get it after year 2 is kind of normal trend. So again, we're gonna attempt that again and try a different angle and whatever else we can do. So,
And in a perfect world, I would like to see a couple of different options. All eggs in best grant basket is not good practice to me. Greg has experience with helping the district pass a bond. I think if we have to go down that route, all we have to do is invite the general public to come in and take a tour when it's raining or the day after. And there's everything we need to get what we need to get accomplished.
you go by that school after heavy snow day. And then the next day it's pretty warm and it starts to drain off and you'll just see the waterfalls that go on for 3-4 days. That just gives you an idea of how much water that stays up on that road. So, there is a lot of water that stays up on that road.
We had discussed at length one time that the area over, I guess the top of our map, that the one where all the white is missing, that is our
It's our ag area.
ag area. And at one time, we were told that that was the major source of all of the leaking and things like that. This little map that we have, this was determined by this roofing company as it to be our hot spots, like the critical places to address first.
Do you guys have much leakage in that area?
Just every now and then.
So, but not as bad as.
Not like we have in the others, but you're right, that was.
That was like the one that started it all.
Yeah, and then, so that was before the new units were put on the top a couple years ago. That was worse than the others, now it's just.
Okay, fair. I won't argue about.
Although if you go over there and look at that text,
You would think that would be the.
it's kind of remind me of prior to the wind, maybe the 2 people are very late, so it's just in bad shape, but fortunately, even though it looks bad, it's not as bad as these highlighted ones here.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Roll call?
Mrs. A. Lawler,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Colometz,
Aye.
Mrs. Leyba.
Aye. Item C, do we have an attorney on the Zoomed in? Is there an attorney zoomed in?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. So I did meet with Dr. Krumholtz. We did reach an agreement taking into consideration all the input that I did receive. However, we do not have a clean copy of the draft for everyone to review. And I spoke with Dr. Krumholtz before the meeting, and I don't feel that we should vote on something that everyone hasn't laid eyes on. So I recommend that we table this. However, we would like to see what the availability is sometime this week. We have to have 24 hours for a special, to post notice for a special meeting, so, I don't know what your Wednesday, Thursday, Friday looks like, but that would be the only thing on the, I'm sorry about this. I should probably told you, but we're all sorry.
I'm out of town Thursday, Friday, so Wednesday would be the best day, but
I'm sorry, what? You say?
I'm out of town Thursday, Friday, so Wednesday would be my best day in person, but Thursday I would be able to phone in as I'm just driving. I can make it work. Whatever.
Wednesday would have to be Wednesday
Afternoon for me as well.
Afternoon. But I can make anything else work.
Okay. So then, we will, entertain a motion to. What is Wednesday's date? I'm sorry.
The 30th.
Yeah.
Okay, what's one more special meeting?
Afternoon, like 1, 2.
Are we looking at noon?
Afternoon, to me, I would really prefer like an after 1 o'clock. I already have a marathon meeting Wednesday mornings, and I just want to make sure I allot enough time if possible. 1 would be ideal.
Okay, I can make that work.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to.
Make a motion to table approval of superintendent contract to Wednesday, July 30th at 1 p.m.
Second. Motion in a couple seconds to table the superintendent contract approval until July 30th, 1 p.m. In order to give the board a chance to review a clean copy from our attorney.
Will we have a clean copy?
I'll call her tomorrow. I don't know what was going on with our phones. Central office? Okay. All right, roll call please.
Mrs. Ayala,
Aye.
Mrs. Hines,
Aye.
Mr. Colomans,
Aye.
Mrs. Leba,
Aye.
I'll just ask you later.
Okay.
It's dawned on me.
Board comments. Board comments, I just want to really say thank you, both Jared and Richie, for everything that you guys did and really throwing yourselves into understanding and learning and every new surprise that you got that you had to be like, so you guys, we have an update. Or hey, just so you know, I can't imagine that stress. And I think that you guys both handled the situation admirably. And I am so proud of the work that you guys have done. And we are really fortunate to have both of you as assets to our district. So I appreciate you both.
Thank you.
And welcome, Dr. Rumpels, pending contract approval on Wednesday. I am so sorry about that, but you were there, you saw us do it, so. All right.
Sorry. I know we said central office, but we can't have audio and live stream that from central office, can we?
That's all right.
you can see it straight from the central office.
If that's what you want, I will make it happen.
I just
Can we
want,
just throw one on?
Correct.
for that discussion, we need to be very open and transparent. It's my thoughts.
Yeah, these.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that.
I also wanted to echo these sentiments for the two of you. We will not soon forget the way you both showed up and stepped in for your districts. Both voluntarily chose to drink through the fire hose. And I really appreciate you helping us keep everything going and staying afloat and doing it with such heart. I'm very impressed with the two of you and I really appreciate the work that you've done for us. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, with no further business, we are adjourned. 8:38.